It is a good hook. All right, Ron, we are live right now. I appreciate you being here with us, everyone. I have Ron Richmond here. Ron Richmond is a local Texas legend. He's a hero to me. He's 60. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, Ron, but he is a 63-year-old man that solo shark fish. He's one of the true solo shark fishermen. We all love you, Ron. Thank you for being here, man. How are you tonight?
I'm good. This is a pleasure, Travis.
Well, a pleasure to have you, man. You're a hero to me, and I'm always trying to compete with you. Also, real quick, I heard you're retiring this year. Please tell me that's not true.
It is true. I am retiring from the schedule I've kept for the last 5 years, which is basically fish once a week. so, but no, I'm retiring from full time shark fishing, and I have some other plans to do some other stuff next year. But there's still a chance I may catch catch me on the beach 3 or 4 times. We'll see.
Well, I hope you're there, buddy. So let's start off, Ron. Now, just remember, I'm not sure who's going to be listening to this. Not everyone from Texas is going to be listening to this. Could be from other states. So the first question I have: how long? Well, first of all, I thought before I talked to you, I thought you were shark fishing immediately out of the womb, right? Because you're so good at it. You do so many things respectively, so well. How long have you even been shark fishing?
8 years.
8 years. That's it.
That's it.
That's still a long time, right? Even 1 year in shark fishing is a long time. Would you agree?
Yes, and the way I got started was basically when I retired at 55 from working as an engineer for 30 years. I just wanted something to do and started surf fishing and started catching some sharks and decided. And then I figured out, well, there's a little more to this, so I think I got a little more into it.
Yeah. So tell us, Ron, where do you shark fish?
I fished the entire Texas Gulf Coast from the north end, Bolivar, to Galveston, to Surfside, to Matagorda, to Corpus Christi, Padre Island National Seashore, and even a few times down at South Padre Island.
So, okay, Galveston. So you fished Galveston before?
I have a couple, yeah.
Have you caught anything?
I did catch something there. One
Okay.
time I got an 8 foot lemon in Galveston.
Not Surfside, but Galveston.
Galveston, yeah.
You are a legend, my friend. You are a legend. So let me ask you this. Now, first of all, shark fishing is expensive. Shark fishing is hard. I have my own reasons for shark fishing. Why do you shark fish?
I think probably two reasons. One, I like the challenge of it. I think the challenge of being one on one with a big shark in the wide open ocean and conquering that is probably what motivates me the most. I think the second reason is because I think there's a great movement of conservation for shark fishing or for sharks in general. And along with the Texas Shark Rodeo, we tag them and take DNA samples, and we have a database with the Heart Research Institute with Texas A&M that keeps a track of all these sharks we catch. And so it's really good for conservation and research.
I mean, you touched on. I agree. But you touched on some points that personally I absolutely love, which is the adventure. I absolutely love the adventure, Ron. I honestly, okay, you're a respectable man. I never see you involved in any drama, which I love being there myself. I love it. It's the way to go. Trust me. But um, here's the thing, man. I don't even know where I was going with that. You see, I got so many things going on, man, with shark fishing. I'm all over the place right now. But really, I love the adventure. And we're blessed despite the drama because of the freedom we have to chase to basically chase the adventure. We have freedom to four-wheel drive off-road. We can camp. We could be solo. There's no tourists where we fish. There's 20 miles of beach. If it's in Penn's, it's 60-mile beach. How blessed are we to fish in Texas? I mean, seriously.
Absolutely. Absolutely blessed. And I know there's other places like North Carolina where they've blocked them from shark fishing for various reasons. I don't know, maybe even Florida. I don't know much about shark fishing in Florida, but I've heard some stories about that. And so, yes, I believe being able to drive on the Texas beaches and just have total freedom is just an absolute pleasure.
It is, man. Not always can we catch massive fish in our backyard, except for you, of course, because you're retiring this year. So obviously we'll get to that in a minute. But you were blessed with an amazing fish this year. We'll cover that. But my next question for you, sir. I'm in the Texas Shark Fishing Rodeo. Okay. It costs a ton of money. All right. I catch a lot of little sharks. It's a tournament. There's no cash reward. There's pretty much no prizes. I fish it for my own reasons. Why the heck, Ron? Why the heck do you fish the Texas Shark Rodeo?
Because I'm competitive.
Good answer.
And I'll never apologize for that.
Oh man, I love it. I love it, man. So, you know, let me ask you this. So you're competitive, and obviously you touched on the conservation. I love your competitive spirit, man. Personally, I push myself harder because you're in it, because I feel like if you can do it, Ron, I have to push myself to do it. It's so hard. And it's not even, I'm not even doing it solo, Ron. I'm not even doing it solo. You're amazing. But let me ask you this: for the Texas Shark Fishing Rodeo, do you have a specific year that's a bigger accomplishment than any particular year?
Oh, not really. Because I really, the Tech Shark Rodeo started back up um, about 1 or 2 years after I started shark fishing. So it wasn't very long before I was already into that. So I really didn't accomplish much my first year or two, to be honest. It was a lot of failures, to be honest, and but I learned from those, and so uh, the more I kept at it, the better I got.
So I'm gonna pull. You know what? I'm gonna pull up the Texas Shark Rodeo for 2020. All right.
Okay.
So take a look at your screen here. Can you see that? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is 2020, and I know you said you're competitive. Look, you got second place this year. I just wanted to point out second place. Here I am. Do you see that in third place? Do you see that, Ron? In
Yes,
third,
I do.
you beat me at the very last minute. I absolutely love you for it. I'm in third. You're in second. This is one of my favorite years, man. I feel like we had this thing going. I know I'm flattering myself. You probably had no idea who I was, but you helped push me. So in this year, do you have, you do have several accomplishments? I mean, I went to the largest species standings,
Okay.
and you're knocking out the leaderboard
So
for
this is last year.
this is all last year. So, the reason I'm bringing this up is, and this is true, but Texas, comparatively, right? So we're taking into account the nation. The sport is growing. There's a lot of people in different states, but we have this preconceived notion that all we're catching is little sharks. But in fact, you fish northern beaches, you're actually landing some pretty healthy sharks. I miss Stony Sefferth. I hope he comes back next year. Prodigy Fishing.
Yes.
Where are you? The fine tooth. Those are little great hammerheads. Oh my gosh. Do you remember the year 2020? The great hammers that
Oh,
year?
the year of the hammer. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Look at these beasts. Unbelievable. Lemons, the lemons too that year. There's Zach.
Yep.
And then we have Ron. So you took over. So were these
So
the end of the year?
the story behind sandbar category is that I wasn't even on the top three all year. And normally I would go up north for the last 2 weeks in December and spend Christmas with the family. But last year, being the COVID year, we didn't travel. So I was free to fish the entire month of December. And I was fortunate enough to get back to back 7'6" sandbars first 2 weeks of December, and then the last day of Texas Shark Rodeo. In fact, it's actually the last hour on New Year's Eve.
Uh-huh.
I pulled in a 7.5 to get tied for third, so I ended up getting all three categories basically.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So the very end, you picked up those wins. So, those are the sandbars. Take a look again at the screen here, man. Here's the tiger sharks, Ron. I never
Okay.
realized how big you were on tiger sharks. Look at this. You took last
Well,
year in, second and third on tiger sharks, Oz being the first.
well, you talk about drama. So last year, I got those two tigers, the 11-1 and the 11-6, on the same trip in June.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
And they stayed in first and second for a good 5 months, or 3 or 4 months anyway. Okay. And then I was pretty much figured I had it locked up. And then Mr. Oz came along and got his 12-2 tiger to push me out. But hey, there's a pretty good story behind that 11-6. I got to tell you that.
You know what? And at the off chance that Oz is listening, man, I'm trying to get him to talk to us, man. I love Oz. I think, for me, I think you would agree, and I'll cover this in a minute, but I mean, he's a hell of a shark fisherman, not
He
just
is.
because of his skills, but I also like how he conducts himself. The human being he appears to be seems like a great person, and he's not all about chasing the limelight.
He's
per
a
se.
true professional that took a sport that was kind of floundering around a little bit. It wasn't even considered a sport, I would say, and kind of brought it into the mainstream and pretty much created an entire business around it. And the guy is really a true legend. And I've seen him do some remarkable things that I have never even thought about doing myself.
So he's a genius, man. He's an absolute stud. So let me ask you this. All right. So when I first started shark fishing, my first year, Ron, my first year, it was despicable. It was despicable. I didn't know what I was doing. All I caught was feelings. I broke things. I got hurt. I probably cried. I didn't even know how to make the weight stick. Right. So the first year, it was a catastrophe, man. It was so bad. But then I remember when I finally caught my first shark. It was in Crystal Beach, 4 foot black tip. Never forget the feeling of seeing the fin. But shortly after that, after my first year, after I feel like I paid my dues, I met Donnie Tidwell. So as soon as I
There
met
you go.
as he's also a legend. I absolutely love Donnie. I love David. A couple meetings with him changed my life, right? So
Right.
for you, Ron, who taught you? Who taught you? And did you fish? And did you teach yourself? Everything. And it's one thing, if you will, it's one thing reading something on the internet, and it's another thing when someone arrives at a destination and shows you. I was blessed with Donnie showing me in person, right? So how, who taught you?
Well, first of all, my story is pretty similar to yours. I When I started surf fishing before I retired, I occasionally would catch a 4 or 5 foot black tip on a casted bait, and so it kind of intrigued me. And so when I turned 55, I was able to retire after 30 years of being an engineer and pretty much do what I wanted to. And I chose to do shark fishing uh, almost full time. And um, it is expensive, but it's very rewarding. And I'll tell you, my story is pretty much the same. I started reading about this guy named Eric Oslands down south in Corpus
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was catching big sharks. And I thought, well, that's something I want to do. Okay. And so I had some pretty good lessons from a few guys on the mid coast, like Joe Garcia, uh, David Crane, Zach Crane. Um, who else up there? The names
Tidwell's.
escape me. Yeah, Donnie. He- Although that was probably a few years after that. Okay, um, but those guys kind of got me started at Matagorda, and we had a kind of like a little club down there,
Yeah.
and that was about the time that the Texas Shark Rodeo came back into play, and so that kind of interested me from a conservation standpoint. Um, that Okay, so now I can catch a shark, I can tag it, I can take a DNA sample, I can measure it, I can take a picture of it, and I can release it, and all this data goes into a database with Hart Research Institute and Texas A&M, and we get credit for it. And I thought,
Yeah,
well, this is pretty cool.
it is cool. It is cool.
And
So let me get this straight so far. Just so no one showed you nothing.
no, there are guys that showed me things.
Okay.
They
Okay.
showed me things the first year or two.
Okay.
Okay. And there
Okay.
were a couple guys down in Corpus that showed me a few things. And
Okay. But
uh,
a lot of it was just from your own,
it's
you know,
just basics. It was basic stuff. We were all still learning at that point.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But when it really kicked into gear was when I started fishing solo. I
Okay.
just, because I was retired and every day of the week to me is the same. All right.
Right. Right.
So I like to avoid the weekend crowds and fish during the week, and nobody else was. So
Yeah.
I happened to figure out how to fish solo for that reason.
Unreal, man. And you do it well. Even more respect. I gotta admit, I give a lot of credit to Donnie Tidwell. I mean, he's making some serious shark fishermen, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the guy. I mean, he's very clean, very very good person.
Well, there's other guys that came into my deal further down the road, like Oz.
Yeah, yeah,
Some of the stories I heard about Chris Sessions, and a few others. The names escape me, but there was always something I could learn from somebody.
yeah. And there is, man. I've traveled. I've traveled, and I told you this. To many different states, specifically land-based shark fishing, and I can tell you, man, I've learned. I typically learn something from every single person I meet. you
Absolutely.
know Even if it's the same state, there are many many different areas that are different. For example, Penns is different than Bolivar, right? And that's different than Matagorda, depending on the year. So there's a lot of different things, and I'm always learning. And that's what I also like about it, not only the adventure, but it seems like everyone has a way of doing things, and it's fascinating. But I have noticed some people take it personally. So if you don't do it their way, you're a horrible person, I feel like.
Yeah,
So if you keep it, but but like me, I
I
keep
don't
it on
worry
the
about
line.
stuff like that.
I know, it's
Yeah.
so silly. So my next question, are you really going to retire?
Yes. So I've been shark fishing full time for the last 5 years. I mean, really hitting it hard. And I'm 63 now this month, and I'm planning on basically um, retiring from shark fishing full time. I'm keeping some of my gear at the off chance I might hit the beach a few times next year, but we'll see what happens. You won't see me on the beach every week though, like I have been.
Well, I have to say, Ron, and I'll admit, I know this is bias. I know this is selfish, but I'm upset at you.
Hit me.
I'm ups. I'm upset at you, man. I don't want to. I'm not going to push. You gave me a lot of passion because I'm very competitive, and we kind of have similar numbers. We put up similar numbers. Some of these guys, I don't know. Donnie, the Cranes, Tim this year, they're putting up just numbers that are unbelievable. And I moved this summer. You see the competitiveness. I'm making excuses. I'm so sorry. Let me get back to it. So what I want to do now is, because you are retiring, this is one heck of an accomplishment. I'm going to bring up the tiger shark that you caught this year. Okay. So
Okay.
Ron Richmond is going out with a bang this year. I'm going to pull up his tiger. Here's the video, Ron. Tell us how big this tiger shark is, where you caught it, when did you catch this, and was it solo? I mean, this thing is
Okay.
a monster.
So leading up to this, I had gotten 8 tigers in the last couple of years, and I was shooting. I had 3 over 11 foot up to 11.7, and this year my goal was to get a 12-footer before I bowed out. And I busted my butt all summer for 5 months running baits, long baits, short baits, everything I could think of, and couldn't catch a big tiger. So I pretty much gave up on it when November came around, and started targeting sandbars at Matagorda which are different baits than I would run for tigers.
Yeah.
And this girl decided to show up one night, and this tiger shark was 12.6, and it was caught, tagged, measured, photographed, and released solo
In November
in November at
on pens.
Matagorda. At
See,
Matagorda, which is a place not known for tigers. In fact, I only know of 3 or 4 that's ever been caught there.
okay, so Ron, he's being a little bit humble. You gave that last disclosure, but it is so impossible to catch a tiger shark in November of that magnitude
Anywhere, anywhere.
anywhere,
Yeah,
especially in Matagorda. So, dude, what an accomplishment! I was when I saw that, I was like, hell yeah, Ron's going out with a bang. Because I've looked at Matagorda kind of like your stomping grounds. I know we travel, but there's kind of that one spot where we kind of we kind of levitate towards. I feel like
right.
X doesn't always mark the spot. I know that, but man, what an absolute remarkable accomplishment, Ron. I hope to go out the same way. By the way, amazing. What bait were you using?
Uh, shark bait.
Okay, okay. Anything else you want to disclose about the tiger
I
shark
would.
that you got?
It was a bait intended for a sandbar. Put it that way.
Okay, I gotcha. Fair enough. Now, next question. Here's the thing, Ron. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a shark fisherman, but I'm a huge fan. I
Yes.
absolutely love watching some of these guys shark fish, especially the people that are conducting themselves like responsible anglers because it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's easy to cut corners. So when I see someone with success doing those things, they're my heroes. I guess what I'm just trying to say is, dude, Oz. I think he's an amazing person from what I can see. I think he's the best. I think he's the GOAT. I think he's in the discussion, not only because of his success, his innovation, the time he's been doing it, but he seems from what I can tell like a great person, great human being. He for the most part stays out of the limelight. Um, Seems like a great sport. We're all human, obviously, but here's my question. What's
Yes.
it like? I know you're on his team on the Texas Shark Fishing Rodeo. What's it like fishing with the great Oz?
Well, to be honest with you, I've seen the guy do some things that I would never even think about
Right,
doing. Okay,
right.
like um, running baits at night in 4-foot surf uh, by
Really?
by himself. Yes, picking up baits in the middle of the night in 4-foot surf.
Jeez.
Uh, I can't even. The fact that he can just run bait after bait after bait without even taking a breath uh, is remarkable. Plus, he really understands the technology behind it, shark fishing, and of course, he owns his own tackle business now, and so I use his tackle because I know it's the best. And but shark fishing with Oz is a real treat.
Do you guys? So my shark fishing team, we don't even fish together.
Yeah.
Do you guys even fish together?
To be honest, I think we've fished once or twice
Yeah.
together where we've been within 100 yards. And I witnessed some of the things he can do. But what makes it work on our team is that we're both basically fishing solo. So
Yeah.
we don't get in each other's way. We don't, block each other's fish. But normally we would fish about at least a half mile to a mile apart if we're on the same beach.
I mean, it's a
Minimum.
blessing.
Yeah.
And I think if you fish with friends or family, I mean, when we shark fish with people that don't know how to shark fish, well, I mean, you solo shark fish, but it's even harder in a lot of times when you're with someone that's not, because you kind of have to take care of them too,
Yeah.
right? So it's I love the team we have, man. I mean, everyone's completely independent.
I do have to
So
say this. It's not so much fishing with Oz, it's the knowledge that he shares with me and the wisdom and
yeah,
the vision that he has about what's possible shark fishing. Okay. And then you have to put in the time yourself to go figure it out and try it.
100%, man.
That's the beauty of it.
I'd love to shark fish with Oz, man. I'd absolutely love it. So, Ron, let me ask you this next question, man. So, in your time shark fishing, what's the scariest thing to happen? And I
Oh
say
boy.
that, I say that like this when so I got a family. I've solo shark fish. We're going 10, 15, 20 miles down the beach. If anything happens to us,
Yeah.
is someone going to come? You know what I mean? Even with other people there, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So, tell me, what's the scariest thing to happen to you?
Well, I wouldn't say this is scary, but even before I started shark fishing, when I was just surf fishing down at Surfside, like my second year I was doing it, I stepped on a giant stingray and put a 1-inch hole in my calf. That put me in the emergency room for 4 hours, and and ended up with 2 months of rehab before I could even touch saltwater again. Um, that was pretty nasty, put it that way. And it would have had a tendency to make you intimidated and not want to go in the water anymore. But as far as shark fishing, there is one event that stands out in my mind that will be the all-time scariest thing. Um, so, like you mentioned, I was shark fishing solo and went down to pins and went down into the 50s. It was on a weekday. Nobody else was on the beach.
Right.
It was an extremely hot day, 100 degrees. There was absolutely no wind, no breeze at all. And I decided I always run my longest bait first. So I decided I was going to run an 800-yard drop.
Solo on
Solo.
pens.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is pretty normal on a calm
Shoo.
day. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
but so and I'm using a Hobie Outback with a pedal drive, um, which gives me a slight advantage. I can get it out back faster, and I can get back into the truck faster to reel in the slack on my reel. But that day it was so darn hot. It was like 100 degrees. I decided not to wear my PFD. I thought, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with this? I've done this 100 times. Okay. Well, I get out there toward the end of the drop. I feel like the kayak's acting funny. It's starting to get unstable. Okay.
Ooh.
So I kept going. I didn't know what was going on, but the surf was so flat, I wasn't worried. So I dropped my bait about 800 yards. I turned around, and all of a sudden, with the waves coming in behind me, the kayak was extremely unstable. I caught a little bitty ripple wave, and it rolled me over like a water balloon. And I couldn't figure out what happened. And then I realized what happened. I got a crack in the bottom of my kayak, and the entire kayak was full of water. So I'm out here 800 yards with a kayak I cannot recover from. I can't flip it back over. There's only a little bitty hole in the bottom of the kayak that I can put my fingertips in to hold onto it. I lost my paddle. I have no PFD, and it's 100 degrees out. And I'm 60 years old.
So
Okay.
so far, Ron, you're describing one of my worst fears.
Okay.
Continue,
Well,
please.
you don't want to go through it, to
I
be
do
honest.
not.
So the moral of the story is wear your PFD no matter what. Always, no matter what. Okay. That would have saved me a lot of trouble. But the fact that I didn't have a PFD on, there's no way I could ditch my kayak and swim in 800 yards without a PFD.
Can you swim?
Oh yeah, I was a lifeguard.
Okay. Okay.
But without a PFD on a 100-degree day, I mean, there was a risk that I would have made it in. Okay. I
Yeah.
would not have made
Yeah.
it in. So
Yeah.
I made the decision to hold on to the kayak. the tide was going out at the time, so it was hell trying to get the kayak back in with
How long did it
paddling.
take you?
I was out there 2.5 hours.
Jeez, man. Solo.
Yes.
Kayak sunk, no PFD.
And when I finally got to the second bar, both my legs were cramped up completely and my arms were just about felt like jelly. I was spent on the second bar. And I
Did you
still had another 200 yards to come in.
did you kayak immediate? I mean, did after that first of all, again, sinking out like deep out like that, especially
Yeah.
well, getting ambushed by a great white. That's one of the big, or really any shark, maybe a tiger. The mind plays some tricks on you when you're
Yeah.
out there. Okay, what to me, one of the biggest things you need in order to kayak, especially at night, you need to keep your head cool.
Yeah.
But geez, man, that's a scary
So
situation. Did you kayak immediately after that, or did you take a
sure.
break in between?
No, I'm a logical person and I realized what went wrong. I thought about it and I said, okay, there's no reason to get upset or scared. I know what went wrong. I know
Yeah.
what mistakes I made. So I corrected them and went right back out there the next time and like nothing happened. Okay. And that just gave me more encouragement to do other things like run baits at night solo,
Right,
up
right.
tackle solo at
S-
night.
So you're running baits at night solo, is that right?
Absolutely.
We gotta fish together, Ron. I love it. We gotta fish together, man. Okay, so that brings me to my next question. Okay.
Sure.
Now I know this is kind of recent, but okay, drones and RC devices have been around for a few years. They haven't been as popular as this recent year. And this is one of the things I find so incredible about you, Ron, and why I push myself so hard, so much harder than I would normally. Why? Because you kayak all of your bait. Why have you never purchased an RC device? And next question: if I buy you one, will you stay full time?
Okay. That's a really good question, and there's several reasons. Okay. First of all, I've had a lot of success just using a kayak. Okay. Um, Second of all, um, they're expensive. So
Yes.
I knew I was pretty much at the end of my full-time shark fishing endeavors. So I could not see spending like 3 grand
Yeah.
uh, for a drone, um, where I can have just as much success with a kayak. And the other reason, there's several other reasons. Okay, I think you really are at a disadvantage with drones over kayaks. Um, and the reason why I think that is because when you're running a kayak and let's say you get cut off,
Yeah.
your lines get cut off. Okay. If you're using floats on your leaders, you can go out in the kayak and go pick them up.
Good
You
point.
don't lose tackle, and that tackle it gets expensive. Each set of terminal tackle is probably about $50. Okay.
So I mean, I calculated it, and this is a last question for you. But I spent just from breakoffs, and I didn't run floats, Matagorda
Yeah.
especially, 2 grand,
Yeah.
$2,000 in tackle. So the
Yeah.
floats are brilliant. I mean, it's
And
brilliant. I should run that.
you cannot retrieve a cutoff on a drone. It's not possible.
Nope, nope.
So
So obviously you get to use your hands. There's advantages of it. The $3,000, but how much of it is the self accomplishment of kayaking? Because to
oh,
me, the kayaking is part of the journey. It's normally part of the. I'm not knocking if you're not kayaking, and I won't always kayak, but it's part of the journey. It's part of the accomplishment. What about for you?
the yakking part is my favorite part of shark
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah,
That is the challenge. Anybody can. Well, I should say anybody. Anybody can reel in a fish.
yeah.
Okay, it's what you have to do to get that bait out there in the right place at the right time. And then if you get cut off, you got to figure out, okay, how do I save my tackle? And and keep the minimal cost. Okay, so kayaking is the best part of it for me, and it's there's something about getting out there, especially solo,
Yeah.
when you get out there and you just it's you against that ocean and you're
It's
just running
exciting.
out there and it's just pure um, paradise to
It,
me.
it and I mean, you escape the realities, man. I love it out there. There, it's just you and the ocean.
Right?
Let me ask you this: do you wear waders?
No,
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on. That's my own drama to deal with. So, mad respect for that answer.
I
Let me ask you
understand.
this. Let me ask you this next question. Okay, you're a Texas legend. You're a great guy. You fish smart. You fish clean. Why never Florida? Why? Why did you never go to Florida? And I
Oh,
and I say that because to me, it's the same distance to go to Florida as it is to the 55-mile marker on Penn's. And in Florida, it's a lot easier to fish in many ways, not all the ways. And dude, there's big fish. There's a lot more big fish. Why have you never gone?
well, first of all, because several reasons. First, I've never been invited, and I have no idea where to go in Florida. Second of all, I don't think my truck is worthy of making that trip. Um, I've got a pretty old beach truck, and it's on its last leg. So that's another reason why I'm pretty much retiring is I don't want to buy another beach vehicle. And so, between those two things, don't know where to go and don't know if how my truck's reliable. And probably the third thing would be I've caught some pretty good fish at Texas. I
Yeah,
don't see a whole lot of reason not to go anywhere.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. For me, it's just the adventure continues. That's all it is. But
Yeah.
honestly, Texas, I mean, I have everything I need right here.
Well, one other thing, let me add this. One other thing is uh, I fish hard Texas 9 months out of the year. Okay. The only months I don't fish hard, but I still fish is January and February. Okay. Um, Even though the Shark Rodeo is not running, I still fish. Those are the hot months, I believe, in Florida, and so I'm usually, out for Christmas vacation, and then January, February, I'm pretty much just surf fishing. So,
The way I look
uh,
at it, man, is every time is a good time to fish Florida.
okay.
I feel like they're so spoiled there, man. What we do
Well,
down
see, I
here is
know so
amazing.
little about it.
Yeah.
That's
So,
just it.
so, so then the next question: will you come with me to fish Florida?
Mm.
We could take my
Will
truck.
you, if I ride in your truck?
Yeah, if you ride in my truck.
Yes.
Okay. I like it. It was a courtesy offer. All right. I'll
Okay.
message you privately if
I
we
will
get to that
take
point.
that.
Dude, I got to get you out there. We'll go over it. It's an amazing experience, man. And we really try
Okay.
to show, being from Texas, a lot of respect to Florida. Let's move on to some, couple more questions and we'll be done, man. We're at 38 minutes.
Right.
You've been amazing. Before we kind of go into what advice you can give us, and maybe how to fish Texas, how to keep the cost down, can you tell us, Ron, what in your entire time land-based shark fishing is your greatest accomplishment as an angler, self-accomplishment?
I think it's a toss up between two or three things. Number one, obviously, that tiger shark I got 3 weeks ago. Um, that was my ultimate goal was to get a 12-foot tiger. And it came at a very strange time, but I ended up getting it. So, yeah. I think everything leading up to that, my first 9 tigers, uh, that I learned to be able to handle a big tiger like that solo. So that's got to be number one. Number two, I think it's the fact that I've been able to catch at least 4 species of sharks over 9 foot: bull, lemon, hammers, and tigers. Um, so I'm pretty well. I've learned how to fish just about everywhere in Texas and how to fish for different species. So that's probably a close second. Um,
So
that and
let
the
me
fact that I've pretty much taught myself how to fish solo. That could be number one, actually. I
That
think
should
it's
be
all a
number
toss up.
one.
Yeah, it's all
That's
a toss up.
You're kayaking at night, solo, catching 12-foot tiger sharks in Matagorda. Hey man, I love it. That's gonna go down. It's already written in history, and it's only been a month. But um, before we end, man, let me ask you this question. As an angler, and what knowledge you have, and there's different areas of thought. Some anglers that I respect are all about hiding information, and not giving back to the community, kind of letting it wander aimlessly. And I understand the reasoning, and they have certain points that are accurate, that I would say. So there's different reasons, but in your shoes, what can you give back, to the community? And it's a small community. And what could you tell us, and to improve ourselves, how to fish in Texas? Is there anything you can tell us on what we should be doing, or anything you want to say to the kind of the new anglers specifically?
Um, wow, I hadn't thought about that kind of question. I am open to giving up knowledge anytime, basically. I don't like giving specific things that I've learned from other people. Okay. I have no problem passing on stuff that I've learned myself, because I'm not offending anybody by giving away any information that I was uh, sworn to not disclose. But if there's one thing, I guess it would be, um, if you're going to fish all of Texas coast, you need to learn how to target, whether you're going to use, um, how you spool your reels is very
Right.
okay. I think the number one most important thing about shark fishing is your line integrity. If,
Okay.
if you don't have good line, you'll never catch your fish.
100%.
Impossible. It's impossible. Okay. So I think that's the thing I learned over the years more than anything, is that how to keep your line solid. Um, and so you can keep that bait soaking as long as possible, because I've caught some of my best fish on baits that have soaked many, many hours. And if your line's no good, um, all it takes is one little spot on your line, um, and you lose that fish or you get cut off. So that to me is the most important thing. And there's a lot of detail behind that. I could probably talk about that for an hour.
Well, I think you have a solid point. I mean, I just got done saying it in 2019, or was it 2020? I dropped $2,000 in tackle, Ron. And from the phrase, we have sandbars. Texas is bad, man. It's not
Two
like that.
grand, that's all.
That's it. Can you believe it? I'm happy. It's so expensive, but Texas is way worse overall, than Florida. So I actually went to Florida with some of the reels that I had used in Texas, and every single reel that I had used in Texas, every 80 fray somewhere deep on my spool, and I lost a big fish.
Yep.
I
Yep.
lost probably 4 or 5 big fish in Florida last year as a result of a fray. Completely heartbroken. So this year I took a different approach, whereas I saved some of my TRX 80s just for Florida. But can you share maybe one secret, maybe that
Sure.
save some money?
Yes. I think so. I use all braid on all my reels, even casting reels. I use all braid. I think
Interesting.
okay. And I'll just give you one example. Maybe it's a secret, maybe it's not, but the way I would spool an 80 wide, I learned after trial and error about 5 years. Okay. And I believe it's my method. It doesn't have to be anybody else's method. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Um, but what works best for me is so take an 80 wide, for example. I want enough line on that thing to where I would let it run 300 yards from where I dropped it. Okay. So if I made it a 700-yard drop, I need 1,000
Oh,
yards
yeah,
of line on my reel.
I
That's
like it.
kind of where my starting point is. So for an 80 wide, I put 500 yards of 150-pound Power Pro on the bottom for one reason. It's thin and it's strong. And that 500 yards never sees water
Yeah.
until I get a fish on that takes it off the reel. Okay. So now, what's my top shot? I run 700 yards of 300-pound solid core braid.
Wow.
Okay. Now, why 700 yards?
For the resistance to the sandbars, or why?
Okay. So remember, I said I want to run a 700-yard drop.
Right,
That
and then
that's my normal drop at pins. 700.
really,
Yeah.
wow. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right. So 700 yards. And so none of that 500 yards underneath sees water on a 700-yard drop. So it's always that line underneath will never break off no matter how big the fish is because it's never been used.
Yeah,
It's brand new. Okay.
yeah,
The thing that gets beat up is the 700-yard top shot. All right. Now, why solid core braid? Because I want the capacity and the strength. Okay. 300-pound solid core braid has the same diameter as 100-pound mono. It's 1 millimeter. All right. So in a sense, you could run 700 yards of 300-pound braid, and if you get cut off, you still got normally you get cut off 200 or 300 yards at the most. You still got 400 yards.
yeah. Of
Okay,
top shot.
so you've turned an 80 wide into a 50 wide. Hey, no big deal. Okay, but the real beauty of running solid core braid on the top is that if you fish everywhere like I do, not just pins but Matagorda, you expect to get cutoffs
Yeah,
every trip. Okay,
100%.
and if the most efficient thing to do is to splice your top shot when you get cut off. Okay, and the best way to do that is with a uni to uni knot, braid to braid. It's a small knot. It's very easy. It's very quick. Okay. As opposed to say mono, you got a bigger knot. And if you do one of those fancy knots where it doesn't really, where it's I don't know, where you run it through
Yeah,
the hollow core.
yeah.
Okay. I don't even
Splice.
mess
Yeah,
with those. Yeah, I don't even mess with those because it's too difficult, too tedious. All right. And if you don't, you get a big knot, and it's just so much easier to replace your top shot if you're using braid.
no, that's a
That's pretty
that's a
much in a
that's
nutshell.
that's a great point, man. I mean, an uni on braid is, man, that's easy. I mean, I've done it many times where I found a fray, we
Yeah.
cut that section out, we go uni, and
Hmm.
that's all she wrote. And you're right. The
And
the
boom, you're
problem
right back in the game.
and the problem with the knots on the braid to mono, like you said, it's the knot specifically going through the guides.
Yeah.
I've had I've had a few times where I'm reeling in a big shark, knot hits the guide, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, am I going to break my guide? So, dude, I didn't know that 300-pound braid as your top shot. That's wild, man. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's
Always
genius,
solid
man.
core though. Solid core.
All right, man. Well, Ron, that's really all I have for you, man. We'll try to go now to the land-based shark fishing page to do a live Q&A. But I just want to say, Ron, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us. I hope your message gets out there. You're an absolute legend. You're one of my heroes. I'm gonna try to fish just like you, man, solo at night with 12.5-foot tiger sharks. I mean, you're an absolute legend, man, and just thank you, man, for joining us.
Okay. Thank you for the
It,
opportunity.
I mean, any last words, man? Anything you want to say before we end the broadcast?
No, bring on the questions. Come on.
Okay.
Let's get into some fun stuff.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Ron, sit tight with me. We'll appreciate you guys.